Hello everyone, welcome back, and thank you for joining us on the Live Unreal with Glover U podcast, where every week, Jeff Glover will dive deep into the questions that you are asking. He understands the challenges you are facing on a day-to-day basis because he still works every day on the front lines of real estate, with him and his team closing over 1,000 homes per year. Today, Jeff will dive deep into the truth about real estate. Truth number 1, models and systems versus mastery. We will learn from Jeff why you should focus mastering few things at a high level, then learning more things at an average level. Now, let's hear from Jeff Glover.
Hey guys, Jeff Glover here with Glover U, and I am bringing you a whole new series dedicated to bringing out the truths of real estate today. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. I know a lot of you guys will end up coming on at some point, but we did a live about a week or so ago where I shared 17 or 18 truths about real estate today and things that needed to be said and things that agents need to hear in the industry. And I had a lot of requests to dig deeper on some of those. And also what was pretty cool, the live was picked up by a lot of different people. A lot of people shared it. In fact, Inman News, I know they shared it a couple times. So it's very hot topics. A lot of the truths that I shared, some could argue are somewhat controversial. The reality is that somebody's got to tell the truth about what's going on in the business and the real estate, not just the market and so forth, but what we need to do to succeed today, because there's so many messages, mixed messages and confusing messages that we've been hearing and that we've been seeing. So what we decided to do is we took the 17 or 18 that I shared and we narrowed it down to 12. All right. So we picked our favorite 12. We sat in a conference room and said, okay, let's make this a 12-week deal. We need to pick 12, so we're going to have to eliminate some. And my plan is, like you're going to see today, is to go deeper on every single one. So today, of course, is truth number 1. And then from here on out, we'll have 11 more and anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes of additional content. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for chiming in. And let's get this series kicked off. So, and by the way, if you want to let anyone know, feel free to share this. Feel free to tag them. You know, anything you can do. If there's people that you know that need to hear this message, feel free to tag them and invite them to join us. If they can't watch it now, hopefully they'll be able to watch it later. So, number 1, we talked about the truth of spending less time researching models and systems and more time picking one and mastering it. So we've narrowed down, like I said, the 18 or 19 and chose this one as number 1. It's not in any particular order. We don't think that this is the most important one or the least important one. It just made sense to start with this one. So spend less time researching models and systems, more time picking one and mastering it. What does that mean? I will share with you. In a world today where shiny object syndrome is being constantly, we're surrounded by it all over, we need to refocus on the value of learning to do a few things at a very high level versus doing several things at an average or mediocre level. Truth be told, we never really had this issue before social media. And even in the early days of social media, 2009, 10, 11, 12, it wasn't normal for agents to constantly post about what they're doing to get business, because quite frankly, there weren't many options out there. Now, there's a plethora of Facebook groups. You got to try this, sign up for this. We support this. This works for us. I've had success with it. And by the way, a lot of them don't seem to back, what does success mean? I mean, is it profit? Is it fun? Is it growth? Is it reinvesting? Everyone has a different definition for success, and nobody really is clear about the success they're having with things. So while some of the systems and some of the models that are out there are effective, the truth is nothing works to a high level if we don't give something enough time. And it's my belief that our consistent connection to social media plus new information is actually inhibiting our ability to become masters at anything. Why is that? Well, because mastery is boring, all right, and shiny objects and quick fixes are new and exciting. And let's be honest, how many of us got into this business because we want to be bored out of our mind? We don't, right? We like the exciting and the new, and well, this worked good for me, but let me try this. Maybe this could be better. We're always chasing the next shiny and exciting thing. Well, in order to go through huge transformational type growth, it's going to come through mastery. Not because we need to actually master a skill in order to get there, but because of who we become on the road to mastery. who we become. All right. So in order to go through this, all right, we get so caught up in this idea of what our production is, what the volume is, what is this going to add, how many homes is it going to increase our sales by, how much have we made, right? Notice I didn't say net because nobody talks about net. You know, when you say made or make, it's not GCI or volume, it's what you net at the end of the day. So the reality is we forgot that we should actually be striving to get personally and professionally better. Yet year after year, no matter how long you've been in this business. So not just look for the next shortcut. The truth is a lot of these shiny objects will be a shortcut. And they might get you from point A to point B, but they never actually get you to the next level. That's the reality. So let's talk about mastery for a minute. What does mastering something truly mean? So when I make the comment, spend more time mastering a few things versus all of your time chasing shiny objects and trying to get better at some of the things, what does truly mastering something mean, in my opinion? Well, let's think about for a second. You've read in the books, it takes about 10,000 hours to truly become a master at something, which based on our average work week could take up to 10 years to actually become a master. No one was actually born on the top of a mountain, and the mountains with the best views can't be bought, bargained with, or cheated. If you want the view, you got to start committing yourself to the process of mastery. Mastery is boring. Yes, that's a good thing. Right now, for instance, I'm leading a small group of agents through listing mastery. And it involves weeks of writing scripts and role-playing over and over. I get at least once a week somebody emailing saying, hey, we're ready for the next step. Can we go on to the next step? You know, I've already done this 5 times. I think I got it down. I'm ready for the next step. My response is always the same. If you're bored, good. You're one step closer to mastery. The more boring it gets, the closer you get to mastery. The more mundane and routine it feels, the closer you're getting to mastery. So instead of taking boredom as a sign that you're in the wrong place, doing the wrong things, take it as a sign that you're leaning into mastery and becoming better by the day. So a couple notes I have on what to focus on in relation to mastery and for how long. And while there are a lot of shiny objects, we know, as I said above, a good portion of them do work for a short while. One of our rules, by the way, when we decide what models or systems to implement is this. Pick something that has been vetted out by agents who are in a position you're trying to be in. Okay, I'll repeat that. If you're going to chase some level of shiny object, or we'll actually call it a good model or system, pick something that has been vetted out by agents who are in a position you're trying to be in. Okay? In other words, don't take advice from someone who isn't on a level you're trying to get to. Pick something, it's been vetted out and it's proven. And also, I want you to ask the question, I know you're having some success with this, it seems. Tell me what success means to you. Tell me what type of success you're having with it. Be specific. Because that's what happens. Oh, we're working on this. Oh, we're doing this. We're trying this, right? We're having success with this. What does that actually mean, having success? I mean, just because a couple contacts came through your CRM that's successful, I don't know. Maybe it is. Give me an idea of what your definition of success with a tool or with a model or with a system actually is. Then give it a solid 6 to 12 months of consistent effort before you make a decision to switch to something else. You know, I use this example all the time when we made the decision to get into advertising. All right, we weren't spending any money on advertising. You know, you've probably heard me say before, we didn't spend $1 on advertising until our GCI was right at about $1 million a year. So once we got to that level of $1 million in GCI per year, we started exploring, all right, how could we take it to the next level? Well, we started on radio. We went with radio advertising to start. And I met with several reps across several different radio stations to understand their audience, their demographics, the best time to be on the airs, their programming, and so forth. And one of the decisions that I made when we chose our first radio station, they wanted $4,000 a month, which for me, spending nothing to committing to $4,000 is a big deal. However, I knew that in order to see results and to get a return, I was going to have to commit to at least 6 to 12 months. So I split the difference. I set aside 9 months worth of the $4,000 spend. All right. So I had that amount set aside in an account separate, whether I had success with the model or not. I had the money set aside. And the reason why it's important to point that out, and I know it probably seems so basic for a lot of you good producers, is because what tends to happen, and I see it all the time with agents, well, so-and-so is having success with it, so I'm going to give it a try. And, I can afford a couple months. But once I start seeing returns, then I can go back and pay the bills, or I can pay for the first month or two. But by then, I'm sure I'll start having returns and I'll be able to keep it and it's going to be successful and everything's going to work out. That, by the way, is how most business people, unfortunately, small business owners, whether it's real estate or not, end up making their decision. I can afford a month or two, and then once it starts working out, because I see so-and-so having success with it, once it starts working out, then I can go back and start paying off the bills and start paying off the invoices because we have success. The reality is when you make a commitment to try something like that, you have to plan on going 6 to 9 months with no return. So therefore, if we're going to plan on 6 to 9 months with no return, we're going to have money set aside. And I'm going to have that budgeted for those 6 to 9 months. So whether you're in real estate or you're a small business owner, anytime you're looking at adding another model or adding another system, 6 to 9 months is mandatory. Having that set aside. So before and 6 to 12 months, right? So 6 to 12 months, whether it's 6 months, 9 months, 10 months, whatever, you pick. But I really want to get an understanding of what success with a particular system or what success with a particular marketing technique actually means. All right. So I wrote down a few things that I do want you to master. Okay. Things that you should be spending your time on, right? This is all about spending less time in one area and more time in another area. So spending less time researching models and systems and more time picking one or two and mastering it. All right, so what are 1 or 2 things that you should pick for the next 6 to 12 months and master? I'll share with you now. Number 1, your sales skills. You probably aren't surprised by hearing me say that you should be mastering your sales skills because at the end of the day, the buyer is still going to want buyer consultation. The seller is still going to want a seller presentation. So while everyone's spending all this time learning about CRMs and learning about technology, you can't get lost in the hype and the idea that you don't have to master your sales skills. So if I'm going to pick a couple of these, and I'm going to give you 5 or 6, but I'm going to suggest for the next 6 to 12 months, you pick 1 or 2 of these and make that your focus. Make that something you're willing to master. And the moment it starts to get boring, stay with it. All right, so the first thing I said, sales skills. And when I say sales skills, I mean things like your listing presentation and your buyer consultation. All right, you should be focusing on those 2 above all. All right, we just had, for instance, with our associates today, we have a 10 a.m. meeting 3 days a week. Everyone broke up into partners and they were role-playing the objection handlers. What are you doing to improve your sales skills? If you're going to master 1 or 2 things for the next 6 to 12 months, I would encourage it includes sales skills. The next thing I wrote down is master your database. All right, this one is a real passionate one for us right now because up until 3 or 4 years ago, we didn't really have a database. Our database was like an Excel spreadsheet that we sent holiday cards to. That was it. We had no CRM. We had no plan. We had nothing to really get repeat referral business from our database. So what we ended up doing was creating a model for our database that we implemented 4 years ago, and we follow it every single year. This year, we're going to take it up to the next level. What's amazing is 4 years ago, database was probably our number 5 or number 6 source of business. We were doing less than 100 transactions from our database. Today, we're doing nearly 400 transactions from our database. So we put a model in place 4 years ago to say, you know what, we have to add value to this group. And we are so passionate about our database right now, more than ever, because we've seen it go from source number 5 to source number 3 to source number 2 to today, it's source number 1. It's our number 1 source of business. Nearly 400 transactions come from it. So one of the things you'll hear us talking more and more about is our upcoming summit, which is in Orlando. And we've decided, we always try to come up with a theme for our event. So we've decided for 2.5 days or 3 days that we're spending together, our main theme is going to be about building, maintaining, and mastering a database. Because now more than ever, consumers need us. Now more than ever, consumers need value from us. So we're going to share how we went from less than 100 transactions from our database to nearly 400 in just 4 short years from the database. I'm not the only one with expert advice on this. We have, of course, other experts that are going to be joining us on the stage. But that is our Orlando event coming up in January, the 6th, 7th, and 8th. That's in Orlando this year. All right, so a couple other things. All right, if you're going to master, things you should master, okay? What does your time management look like? I know that this isn't something that normally they teach classes on. It's not common that you'll go into your office and see signs that say Time Management 101 next Thursday from 2 to 3. All right. That was a thing back in the day. Why isn't it a thing anymore? Well, because number one, if they had a class, that said time management 101, only 3 or 4 agents would show up. And the 3 or 4 agents that would show up would probably show up late. So at some point in time, they decided to get rid of the time management classes. Well, and then they put fancy things on like The Truth of Real Estate Today, or things that are catchy and draw attention. Well, if I can think about things that you should be mastering right now more than ever, time management would be very high on the list, all right? And it doesn't have to be all day long time management. It can be time management from the time you get up until lunchtime. When we do business planning with our associates this past year and this coming year, we're only paying attention to their morning schedule. If they master the morning, everything else will fall into place. The next skill I wrote down is your professionalism in your marketing, all right? What does your marketing look like? What image are you portraying? How professional is the marketing pieces and the examples and so forth that you're putting out there? That's something that you should spend time mastering right now. The next thing I wrote down, something that you should spend time mastering, is the ability to prospect, and more importantly, the ability to teach, more importantly, being able to teach prospecting, but you have to master it first. All right. A lot of people say, well, I can teach others to prospect, or I can manage people, or I can do things. Well, you can't teach anybody anything until you've mastered it yourself. So mastering the activity of prospecting, and then hopefully at some point in time being able to teach it. Next area that you should master, especially if you want a big business, is the showing agent model. All right, there's all kinds of ideas on how to grow a big showing agent model and work with showing agents. If you want to have a big business, you're not going to have a big business by constantly showing homes. Next thing I wrote down that you should be mastering right now, scripts to combat iBuyers, right? There's a lot of this talk about iBuyers depending what market you're in. All right, you need to know how to handle the objection of the consumer saying, well, we're considering this iBuyer program. You have to be able to overcome those objections. You have to be able to combat and have a knowledgeable conversation about the iBuyer programs. Or better yet, embrace it. Create your own, have your own, which is something I know several agents around the country are working on. So those are just a few of the things, I'm most important and most excited about mastering the database. I really think that as technology makes life easier for consumers, we need to increase our value, because our value of giving free CMAs and market analysis, and just call this number and I'll come out type of thing, that value is starting to drop because people can get it on their own. So because people can get things at their fingertips, with Zillow and so forth and all these fancy CRMs, our value as an agent to them actually starts to go down. So how can we make up for that value? We can add value to our database. So going back to it, that is why our summit coming up in January, which if you want to get registered, because I know we plan on having 1,000 people there, so I know most of you will, it's liveunrealsummit.com, LIVEUNREAL summit.com. The early bird registration ends on October the 1st, so it's $250 right now. It's going to go up to $300 and then $350. So get your ticket. There's going to be 1,000 of us there. It's not just me sharing what we've done the last 3 or 4 years to grow the business from our database. It's going to be experts from all over the country as well. The agenda's up. You can go check it out. But the moral of the story is master a couple things. Don't spread yourself too thin, and don't switch it up every 30 or 60 days just because it's not working for you. Commit to the process and embrace the boredom. The more boredom it gets, the more mastery you'll achieve. All right? Let's have a good week, everybody. See ya.
Thank you for taking your time to join Jeff today on the Live Unreal with Glover U podcast. To get started on having an unreal business, take the real estate self-assessment. After you complete the assessment, a member of Glover U will get on a call with you to create an action plan to improve your score. Go to www.gloveru.com/self. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. Search for Live Unreal with Glover U on iTunes, Podbean, or Spotify, and subscribe today. Until next time, remember, the more bored you get, the more you get close to mastering it.